There's something powerful about the masks we wear. And I wanted to take a moment to share with you my thoughts after a recent event last month, Unmasked, the Power of Speaking Our Truth, which I held as part of the Let's Talk Better CIC, where we explored something so many people experience, yet really speak about openly: masking. So not the physical masks, but the emotional masks, social masks, psychological masks, survival masks. The masks that say, I'm okay, I'm coping, I'll handle it. I don't need help. I don't want to burden anyone. And the truth is, most people are wearing one mask of some sort. Because somewhere along the way, many of us have learned that being fully ourselves didn't always feel safe. So we adapted. We became who we thought we needed to be in order to survive, to fit in, avoid rejection, conflict, or simply get through the day. And sometimes masking does help us survive in difficult situations and seasons. It helps people navigate through trauma, workplace, relationships, loss, neurodivergence, expectation, fear, pressure, pain. Sometimes the mask becomes protection. But the deeper question here is, what happens when the protection becomes permanent? What happens when the mask we created to survive slowly begins to disconnect us from ourselves? Because recent studies are showing that many people have silently felt for years long-term emotional masking that can contribute to anxiety, emotional exhaustion, burnout, loneliness, stress, and disconnection from identity and self-worth. A recent study in 2025 from Sage Journals found that increased masking was directly linked to higher levels of perceived stress and emotional strain. Another study highlighted by the Frontiers talks about how emotional exhaustion continues to rise in people constantly suppressing what they truly feel. Even in workplaces, studies show burnout and emotional exhaustion are affecting a huge number of people, with many still afraid to openly admit that they are struggling. And honestly, that says a lot about the world that we're living in, because many people feel seen but not truly known. At our Unmasked event, our incredible speakers that were there brought these truths to life so powerfully. Emma Mayhew spoke openly about neurodivergence, mental health, and the exhausting reality of hiding in plain sight while trying to meet expectations and appear fine. Her story reminds us of how much energy it can take to constantly perform normality while silently struggling underneath. But for her, masking was her power. Chris Tuck shared a deeply moving journey from breakdown to breakthrough, speaking about personal survival, trauma, resilience, and the courage it takes to rebuild yourself after pain. Her honesty reminded us, everyone in the room, that sometimes the strongest people are carrying the heaviest masks. And Thomas Fitzgerald, also known as Miss Lola Fatitius, brought us such a powerful perspective on identity, performance, visibility, and self-expression. His story challenged us to think about the difference between being watched and being truly seen. Each of these speakers brought courage, truth, vulnerability, and humanity. But perhaps most importantly, they gave people permission. Permission to stop pretending for a moment, permission to reflect, permission to ask, who am I underneath the mask? Because the reality is, many people don't even realize they're wearing a mask anymore. It becomes automatic. You become the strong one, the funny one, the successful one, the people pleaser, the caregiver, the achiever, the low maintenance one, the person who keeps everyone else together while silently falling apart inside. And after a while, you forget what it feels like to simply be yourself. Carl Jung once said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." But how do we become who we truly are? If we've spent years pretending and hiding parts of ourselves to just feel accepted, and when is it the right time to take off this mask? How do we know? Maybe there isn't one big dramatic moment. Maybe unmasking begins quietly by admitting to yourself, "I'm struggling. This is hard for me. I need support. I'm exhausted. I don't want to pretend today." Maybe unmasking begins when we stop abandoning ourselves just to make everyone else comfortable. Because unmasking doesn't mean exposing every wound to the world. It doesn't mean vulnerability without hiding the boundaries. It means slowly allowing yourself to exist more honestly, more safely, more truthfully, and more authentically. And perhaps that's one of the bravest things a person can do. Now at Let's Talk Better, we believe the conversations we avoid are often the conversations we most need to have. But we need people to listen as well. Silence keeps people isolated, but honesty creates connection. And when one person chooses to show up authentically or however they wish, it quietly gives others permission to do the same. That's how change begins. Not always loudly, but powerfully, collectively, human to human. Maybe unmasking begins when we stop abandoning ourselves to just make everyone else feel comfortable. Because unmasking doesn't mean exposing every wound to the world. It doesn't mean vulnerability without boundaries. It means slowly allowing yourself to exist more honestly, more safely, more truthfully, more authentically, or however you wish. And perhaps that's one of the bravest things a person can do. So at Let's Talk Better, we believe the conversations we avoid are often the conversations we most need to have. And we want people to listen, being heard. Because silence keeps people isolated, but honesty creates connection. And when one person chooses to show up authentically, or however they wish, it quietly gives others permission to do the same. That's how change begins. Not always loudly, but powerfully, collectively, human to human. So maybe today, take a gentle moment to ask yourself, what mask have I been carrying for too long? What is it protecting me from? And what might change if I allowed myself to be seen, even just for that little moment? Because maybe the moment we stop pretending is the moment we finally start living. I'm Zinat Narani, co-founder and CEO director of Let's Talk Better CIC, also the CEO of Clarity Consulting.